Well, guys, some of you might remember me talking about old fish-lipped Sturgeon's medical passport scheme being a nutter joke in his first few weeks. This was always going to be the case, not only because they're pointless, but because the SNP are in charge of it, of course.
Holyrood's passed legislation that could allow for the polling to take place over a couple of days if that was thought to be necessary to ensure that sort of social distancing could be maintained.
But as I covered back then, we had a 40% drop in customer numbers where this was implemented, door staff facing abuse and businesses using loopholes to get around it. Literally everyone and their mothers come out against it, and it turns out even the SNP's own hand-picked scientists have now shat all over it too, but being old fish lips, she's expected to double down on it anyway. As it stands, cinemas and theatres are likely to be included, which is the same as Wales if I'm not mistaken, which I actually have a story coming on a Welsh cinema later. This one here though involving the SNP and Old Fish Lips headlines, FM set to extend hated scheme after own aid pulls the rug from underneath it. Nicola Sturgeon is set to announce an extension to the vaccine passports on Tuesday, despite the fact that her own advisor has said there is absolutely no evidence that they increase vaccination rates. Stephen Riker, Professor of Psychology at the University of St Andrews and one of Mrs Sturgeon's hand-picked advisors, has said that the increase in vaccination rates in Scotland was exactly the same as in England, where they didn't have the passports. Professor Riker, who sits on the Scottish Government's COVID-19 advisory group, instead warned that the policy could backfire by reaffirming the view held by some vaccine skeptics that jabs are about controlling people. No, actually what they're saying is that passports are about controlling people, not the jabs. So I don't know whether the Express has cocked up there and misquoted him, or he's actually said that and just cocked it up himself. What people are saying is that these vaccine passports are going to be used to control people like a digital ID system. Here it goes on, Miss Sturgeon will announce later today whether the scheme will be extended to cinemas, theatres and other hospitality venues, so no doubt restaurants, pubs and shit like that could be involved. Although I think the backlash from that might be a lot bigger than it was for the clubs, so it would be a risky move, especially with pubs and restaurants. But of course this is Nicola Sturgeon we're talking about here, and she's a despotic lunatic who loves all this shit and the new power that she's got. Can you imagine what she would be like if she was an independent country, although technically they wouldn't be independent, would they? These old Scottish nationalists, they want to become the vassal state of Europe because that's true nationalism in 2021. Well, it is to the tosspots up there anyway. But essentially, despite her own scientific advisors telling her this is a bullshit idea, she's going to plough on with it regardless, because her masters are not him and they're certainly not the Scottish people. I would say we might well see some Scots protesting against this in larger numbers than we already have. There has been plenty of protests up there, and including ones against these vaccine passports. Only time will tell if the numbers continue to grow until it reaches a point where they can't ignore it anymore. But essentially, when something isn't working and apparently cases are still rising, they're just going to double down on the same bullshit that they literally know doesn't work. And as this article points out, the scientific advisor of their own government said the same. But then again, as I've said before, her stupidity is rampant at the moment and it's extremely contagious. Nicola Sturgeon must have caught it from some tosspot over in the EU.